Imagine creating something worth over $1 trillion, then disappearing. No interviews, no fame, no fortune, no explanation. More than 15 years ago, a person using the name Satoshi Nakamoto introduced an invention that would change the world forever. Bitcoin. Today, millions of people own it. Governments monitor it. Entire industries have been built around it. Yet nobody knows who created it. Not only did Satoshi vanish without a trace, but the fortune believed to belong to him has never been touched. Not once. For over a decade, journalists, investigators, cryptographers, and internet detectives have searched for the truth. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto? And why did the creator of Bitcoin disappear? So, let's start with the video, shall we? The mystery begins on October 31st, 2008. At the time, the global financial system was in crisis. Banks were collapsing. Markets were crashing. Trust in traditional institutions was disappearing. Then, without warning, a 9-page document appeared online. Its title was simple: Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. The paper described a completely new form of money, one that could exist without banks, without governments, and without a central authority controlling it. The author was listed as Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knew who that was. There was no biography, no company, no university, no public history, just a name. At first, very few people paid attention. The paper was posted to a small cryptography mailing list filled with programmers, mathematicians, and privacy advocates. To most readers, it looked like another ambitious experiment. But unlike previous attempts at digital money, this one actually worked. Only a few months later, Satoshi released the first version of the Bitcoin software. On January 3rd, 2009, the first Bitcoin block was created. Known today as the Genesis block, Bitcoin was alive. And so was the mystery, because while the technology was becoming real, the creator remained invisible. But despite remaining hidden, Satoshi wasn't gone. In fact, he was only getting started. With Bitcoin now alive, Satoshi got to work. The white paper was only the beginning. Now came the difficult part: convincing people that it could actually work. In the early days, Bitcoin was almost completely unknown. There were no news articles, no investors, no companies building on top of it, and certainly no reason to believe it would one day be worth billions. To most people, it looked like just another internet experiment. But Satoshi didn't stop. Day after day, he continued improving the software, fixing bugs, answering questions, and helping new users understand how the system worked. Slowly, a small community began forming around Bitcoin: programmers, cryptographers, privacy advocates, people fascinated by the idea of money existing outside the control of banks and governments. One of the first people to join the project was a respected cryptographer named Hal Finney. Finney immediately recognized Bitcoin's potential. He downloaded the software, tested the network, and became one of the first people ever to receive a Bitcoin transaction. At the time, the coins were essentially worthless. They couldn't buy a house, a car, or even a cup of coffee. Yet the small group surrounding Bitcoin continued working as if they knew they were building something important. Month after month, the network grew. New users arrived, new computers joined, and Bitcoin slowly transformed from an idea into a functioning system. But while Bitcoin was becoming stronger, its creator remained strangely distant. Satoshi never sought attention, never promoted himself, never tried to become famous. His focus seemed entirely fixed on Bitcoin, as if the project itself mattered far more than the person behind it. And then, just as Bitcoin was beginning to gain momentum, something changed. At first, nobody noticed. Bitcoin was growing. New users were joining the network. Developers were helping improve the software. Everything appeared normal. But behind the scenes, for more than 2 years, Satoshi remained one of Bitcoin's most active contributors. He answered questions, fixed problems, guided developers, and helped shape the future of the project. Then, something changed. As Bitcoin continued growing, Satoshi slowly began stepping back. The emails became less frequent, the forum posts became shorter. His presence, once constant, began to fade. At first, nobody thought much of it. After all, Bitcoin was becoming increasingly stable. More developers were joining the project. The network no longer depended entirely on its creator. But looking back, the signs were there. Satoshi was preparing to leave. In December of 2010, one event appeared to concern him. Bitcoin had begun attracting attention beyond the small community that had supported it from the beginning. The project was no longer an obscure experiment hidden in internet forums. People were starting to notice. Governments were starting to notice. And for someone who had spent years protecting their identity, that may have been a problem. Then, in 2011, Satoshi sent one of his final known messages, a short email, only a few words. "I've moved on to other things." There was no explanation, no farewell, no announcement, no indication that he would ever return. And then, he was gone. The creator of Bitcoin disappeared from the internet. No more emails, no more forum posts, no more messages, nothing. As Bitcoin continued growing year after year, the person who created it simply vanished. He never came back. As Bitcoin continued growing, so did the mystery. The creator had vanished. But the search for Satoshi Nakamoto was only beginning. Journalists investigated. Developers searched for clues. Internet detectives examined old emails, forum posts, and writing styles. Everyone wanted the answer to the same question: who created Bitcoin? Over the years, dozens of names were suggested, but a few stood out above the rest. One of the strongest suspects was Hal Finney, a respected cryptographer, one of Bitcoin's earliest users, and one of the first people to communicate directly with Satoshi. The evidence seemed compelling. Finney possessed the technical skills. He understood cryptography, and he was there from the very beginning. Yet, he repeatedly denied being Satoshi. And despite years of investigation, no definitive proof was ever found. Then, there was Nick Szabo, a computer scientist who had proposed a digital currency called BitGold years before Bitcoin appeared. Many researchers noticed striking similarities between the two projects. The concepts were similar, the goals were similar, even parts of the writing style appeared similar. But once again, there was no proof. And Nick Szabo also denied being Bitcoin's creator. Then, in 2014, the mystery exploded into the mainstream. A magazine claimed it had finally found the real Satoshi Nakamoto. The suspect? A retired engineer named Dorian Nakamoto. Reporters surrounded his home. News crews followed him through the streets. For a brief moment, it seemed the mystery had finally been solved. But Dorian denied everything. And just like that, the search continued. Years later, despite countless investigations, theories, and accusations, nobody has ever proven who Satoshi Nakamoto really was. More than 15 years later, the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto remains unknown. The creator of Bitcoin changed the world forever. A technology that began as a simple 9-page document has grown into a global phenomenon. Governments monitor it. Companies invest in it. Millions of people own it. Yet the person responsible for creating it remains a mystery. No confirmed identity, no public appearances, no final explanation. Just a name: Satoshi Nakamoto. Perhaps one day the truth will be revealed. Perhaps it won't. But until then, the creator of Bitcoin remains one of the greatest mysteries in internet history. And maybe that's exactly how Satoshi wanted it. If you enjoyed this investigation and want to see more internet mysteries, unexplained stories, and hidden corners of the web, make sure to like the video and subscribe. And remember, stay clued.